Good evening all, and a warm welcome to all viewers joining us for today's webinar. I am Gajanan Suryanshi along with Dr. Mangesh Bhalerao, Head of Medical Services. On behalf of RPG Life Sciences, I welcome all for today's informative webinar on management of home isolated COVID-19 patients. As we all know that we are hit by coronavirus diseases, so it is best time to take the precaution and prevention at individual level. So ICMR and WHO has given various guidelines on home isolations and treatment. To talk more on this topic, we have guest speaker today with us, Dr. Ajay Kumar Srivastava. Welcome, sir. Pleasure having you here today with us. To give a
Thank
brief
you.
introduction, about Dr. Srivastava, sir has done MBBS and MD chest medicine. Sir has done 1 year certificate course in diabetes. He has also done 1 year fellowship in clinical cardiology. Sir is the member of various associations like as Indian Medical Association, Indian Chest Society, Indian Association of Bronchology, and Indian Association of Allergy and Immunology. Sir is currently associated with Adityam Chest and Dietitian Clinic. It would be very interesting to listen more on this topic. So without further wasting more time, I would like to welcome Dr. Ajay Kumar Srivastav and would request to please carry forward session. Thank you, sir. Over to you.
Thank you. A very good evening to everyone. Myself, Dr. Kumar Srivastava, welcomes all of you. And first of all, my special thanks to RPG Life Sciences people for organizing this beautiful webinar for all of us. As we all are knowing that we are in grip of COVID-19 pandemic, and majority of the patients of COVID-19, they are either having mild disease or having no symptoms. So they are in home isolation. So we should know how to manage home isolated COVID-19 patients, along with patients having severe disease management in ICUs or in hospital. Because monitoring of home isolated patients is very important. Some of them may develop breathlessness, may develop increasing problems, may develop respiratory failure in due course. So we have to monitor all of them. So not wasting much time, I am starting my presentation. What we will cover today: understanding COVID-19, precautions during COVID-19, home isolation criteria, home isolation guidelines, home isolation management protocol, and finally take-home messages. So all of you will be knowing about COVID-19. It's a type is, the virus is a coronavirus, and it leads to mainly respiratory symptoms like cough, sore throat, fever, and breath. There is worldwide spread. That's why it is called as pandemic. Pandemic is very common in influenza virus also, and it is very close to influenza virus. As of all of you will be knowing about antigenic shift and antigenic drift. Drift is responsible for epidemics, and shift is responsible for pandemics. We don't know much about coronavirus at present. Hopefully, in coming month, we will be able to give more details about this virus. The pandemic started in December 2019. You all will be knowing, and it originated in China, Wuhan city. What are the common symptoms? Fever more than 38 degrees Celsius, dry cough, shortness of breath, sore throat, and headache. These are the common symptoms. More symptomatic in adults and older individuals, while young people, they are more likely to be asymptomatic. But during course of the disease, majority of the patients, more than 90% of the patient, they definitely have dry cough at some stage. Maybe initially they may be asymptomatic, but later on they may develop some kind of dry cough, some kind of sore throat, if not shortness of breath. Less common symptoms are headache or muscle ache, diarrhea, sudden loss of smell and taste, abnormal heart rhythm, and heart failure because of myocarditis usually. Many patients, they recover fully in about 2 weeks. In others, some symptoms like breathlessness and fatigue, it may continue for weeks. Sometimes sudden loss of smell and taste also takes much time to become normal. High risk population, age 65 years and older, it is an independent risk factor. Chronic lung disease like COPD, asthma, interstitial lung disease, old fibrocavity disease of old tuberculosis, these all are prone to have in chances of having coronavirus infection. Serious heart conditions like coronary artery disease and patients having congestive heart failure due to any cause, they are prone to have coronavirus infection. Immunocompromised people, obviously, patients who are having long-standing uncontrolled diabetes, patients who are having chronic renal failure, patients who are on organ transplant and taking immunosuppressive therapy, patients who are having AIDS. So these are prone to have coronavirus infection. Cancer survivors, diabetes, obviously diabetes is a very important risk factor, and it is nowadays it has been rated as the most common comorbidity along with COVID pneumonia, and obviously obesity. So these group of people, they seek care quickly if you start experiencing COVID-19 symptoms like cough, fever, or shortness of breath. COVID-19 symptoms, they appear 2 to 14 days after exposure to the coronavirus. It may be 5 to 14 days, and in some cases, it ranges from 5 days, 5th day to 21st day. Very rarely, it can extend to 28 days. I don't know what some case has been reported from America that after the contracting infection, 28 days has been less to have full disease. Infection spread route. Infectious agent or the germ, it needs a reservoir host. Then through the portal of Epidermis nose, it transmits to the portal of entry of a susceptible host. Means basically it spreads by sneezing and coughing. Even heavy laughter or even talk can transmit the infection. It depends. Something about fomites, objects or materials which are likely to carry infection, such as clothes, utensils, and furniture. They are called as fomites because they can transfer infection. Survival of virus is different on different surfaces. You all will be knowing. Like on paper and tissue paper, it survives for 3 hours. On copper, 4 hours. Cardboard, 24 hours. On wood, 2 days. Cloth, 2 days. Stainless steel, 2 to 3 days. Plastic, 3 days. Glass, 4 days. Paper money, 4 days. And outside of surgical mask, 7 days. That's why I always advise that you should use surgical mask only once, and after using it, destroy it in trash. How to stop spread of germs? Obviously, you all will be knowing through social media and through taking steps regarding awareness of this way how to stop spread of germs. We should avoid close contact with people who are sick. Cover your cough or sneeze with a tissue and throw the tissue in the trash. If tissue paper is not available, you can use your elbow. Clean and disinfect frequently touched objects and surfaces. Avoid touching your eyes, nose, and mouth. Very difficult because we all have some habit to touch our nose, mouth, or eyes, and this is unknowingly. We should stay home when we are sick, except to go medical care, except to get medical care. Wash your hands often with soap and water for at least 20 seconds. If soap and water is not available, you can use alcohol-based hand sanitizer and rub it till the surface becomes dry. This is the algorithm for COVID surveillance. There are two categories: the symptomatic patients, which are more common, and symptomatic patients. Again, they are divided in three categories. Category A, mild cases, no need to come to hospital, no testing needed. Again, we have to characterize the risk. High risk persons should have strict home isolation for 28 days, and low risk we have to again quantify the risk. In symptomatic group, category B is moderate case. Moderate case means you have to test for COVID-19. In category C, severe case, again you have to test for COVID-19. Category C patient should be hospitalized. They should not be allowed to take home treatment. And category P patient, again we have to stratify the risk. Who needs quarantine? People who have been in close contact with someone who has COVID-19. Obviously, if you are having a contact with a positive case, you need quarantine. But this excludes people who have had COVID-19 in past 3 months. When to quarantine or isolate? Suppose on day one you have lost close contact with person who has COVID-19, then your quarantine will end on 15, means 14-day quarantine. And please note, if your quarantine starts at noon on day one, then it would end at noon on the last day. 14 days complete quarantine you should go for. In scenario 2, there is a close contact with someone who has COVID-19 and you are living with the person, but you can avoid frequent contact. Then quarantine will be more. Dead person with COVID-19 began home isolation plus 14 days, another 14 days. That will be end of quarantine. Scenario 3, and suppose on day 1, it is your start of first quarantine, and on day 5, you again have additional contact with someone who is having COVID-19. Then your quarantine will not end on 15. Your quarantine will end on 19, means 14 days from the second contact. Scenario 4 is you are living with someone who has COVID-19 and you cannot avoid contact with him. Then your quarantine will be sum of home isolation plus quarantine of 14 days. Date the person with COVID-19 ends home isolation plus another 14 days. That will be end of quarantine. Now something about management of COVID in home isolation. You have to watch for warning signs regularly. You have to educate your home isolated patient. To have the doctor's phone number on hand, if any problem he starts facing during home isolation, he should phone his doctor. Use self-checkup tool to help you make decisions about seeking appropriate medical care, means pulse oximeter. You have to ask every home isolated patient to purchase pulse oximeter, and he should monitor his SpO2. If SpO2 starts reducing from 95% to lower side, you should advise that patient to contact immediate nearby designated COVID hospital, because that patient may need hospitalization. Call the doctor or local helpline number if the person keeps getting sicker, means their symptom is increasing, their breathlessness is increasing, their cough is increasing, his fever is increasing, he is having confusion, and he starts deteriorating. Then he should first call doctor or local helpline and should get admitted. And for all home isolated patients, you should give an undertaking. One copy should be kept by treating medical officer, and one copy should be handed over to the patient. This is the format of undertaking. I, son of Falafla, resident of that area, being diagnosed as a confirmed or suspected case of COVID-19, do hereby voluntarily undertake to maintain strict self-isolation at all times for the prescribed period. During this period, I shall monitor my health and those around me and interact with the assigned surveillance team with the call center. In case I suffer from any deteriorating symptoms or any of my close family contacts develop any symptoms consistent with COVID-19, I have been explained in detail about the precautions that I need to follow while I am under self-isolation. I am liable to be acted on under the prescribed law for any non-adherence to self-isolation protocol. There should be signature, date, and contact number. So this way, we have to take undertaking of every patients who are in home isolation. To help cover basic needs of sick, obviously everybody has to do this. Make them drinks a lot of fluids and rest. Follow their doctor's instructions for care and medicine. See if over-the-counter medicines for fever help the person feel better. Means suppose a patient of home isolation is having fever, you should give him paracetamol so that he should get relieved and feel better. Help the sick with grocery shopping, filling prescriptions, and getting other items they may need. Consider having the items delivered through a delivery service if possible. If possible, there should be a separate bedroom and bathroom for every home isolated patient. Try to stay at least 6 feet away from the sick person. Shared space should have good airflow. Open the window to increase air circulation and avoid having visitors. This is very important. Caregiver should be in quarantine. Obviously, caregivers and anyone who has been in close contact with someone who has COVID-19, he should stay at home and he should be in quarantine. Eat in separate rooms or areas. Obviously, stay and eat separated. Wash dishes and utensils using gloves and hot water. Wash them with soap and hot water or in a dishwasher. Clean hands after taking off gloves or handling used items. These are obviously normal things. I think everybody is knowing all these. Do not share with the person who is sick cups, glasses, silverware, towels, beddings, electronics like cell phone. Cell phone is very important nowadays. For a person who is sick all the time around family members, what precautions one should take? Masks should not be placed on your children under age 2 because children cannot tolerate this. Children will not wear it obviously. Anyone who has trouble breathing, he should not wear mask because he may have hypoxia. And someone who is not able to remove the covering without help, he should also not be given mask. For caregivers, wear gloves when you touch or have contact with the sick person. The caregiver should ask the sick person to put on a mask before entering the room. The caregiver may also wear a mask. Why may he should wear a mask when caring for a person who is sick. Clean your hands often. Wash hands for at least 20 seconds. Everybody is knowing this. If soap and water is not available, you can use hand sanitizer having 60% or 70% alcohol. Rub all surface together until they feel dry and avoid touching eyes, nose and mouth. Everybody knows it. Around the house, clean and disinfect high touch surfaces and items every day. This includes tables, doorknobs, light switches, handles, desks, toilets, faucets, sinks, electronics, everything. Use soap and water to clean dirty surfaces prior to disinfection. Then disinfect. Apply disinfectant to surface. Most of the common EPA registered household disinfects work. Nowadays, a lot of disinfectants are available in the form of spray. You can use all those. They are all useful. If you are using a separate bedroom and bathroom, only clean the area around the person who is sick when needed. If sharing a bathroom, the person who is sick should clean and then disinfect after each use. Obviously, wash and dry laundry. Do not shake dirty laundry. Wear disposable gloves while handling dirty laundry. Dirty laundry from a person who is sick can be washed with other people's items, no problem, because soap is there. It will kill all the viruses. Use the warm water if possible. Remove gloves and wash hands right. Wash hands after putting clothes in the dish washer. Clean and disinfect clothes hampers and wash your hands afterwards. Place use disposable gloves, mask and other contaminated items in a lined trash can. Lined trash can is better. Use gloves when removing garbage bags and handling and disposing of trash. Wash hands afterwards, obviously. If possible, dedicate a lined trash can for the person who is sick. He should have a separate trash. What counts a close contact? How will you find this person is having close contact? Within 6 feet of someone who has COVID-19 for a total of 15 minutes or so. If you are having a occasional contact of less than 2 minutes, you may not have acquired infection. So within 6 feet of someone who has COVID-19 for a total of 15 minutes or more. You provided care at home to someone who is sick with COVID-19. Obviously, you will be called as a close contact. You had direct physical contact with the person, or you have hugged him or kissed them. Obviously, you will be called as close contact. You shared eating or drinking utensils, and they sneezed or coughed up, or somehow you have got respiratory droplets on. So keep a distance of 1 meter. When to discontinue home isolation? Patient under home isolation will stand discharged after 10 days of symptom onset and no fever for last 3 days, according to Government of India ICMR. Thereafter, the patient will be advised to isolate at home and self-monitor their health for further 7 days. There is no need for testing after the home isolation period is over. But in some patients who are in government offices, who are in banks, who are in companies, they may need a written negative report. So we should advise him for repeat test so that they can join their offices. And when to seek emergency medical attention or hospitalization? Of course, if patient starts trouble breathing, he feels breathlessness, his SpO2 starts falling from 95% to less than 90, he feels persistent pain or pressure in the chest, there is new confusion, inability to wake or stay awake, loose lips or face means signs of cyanosis. So these are the alarming symptoms. And the list is not all possible symptoms. Patient could have anything. Patient could have seizures. Patient could have uh, transient ischemic attack. So patient could have anything. So if patient develops anything new, anything serious, he should consult medical help immediately. Now, something about diagnosis and treatment. You all know there is no specific treatment. Mild symptoms can be treated with medicines to lower the fever or relieve pain. And see, in case of severe symptomatic patients, hospitalization is required. Because symptoms are similar to many other illnesses, tests are needed to make the diagnosis. You have to take nose and throat swab. You have to do blood tests. You have to do chest X-ray, obviously. Regarding medical treatment during self-isolation, currently no medication is recommended to treat COVID-19 and no cure is available till date. What we can do, we can give pain relievers, we can give antibiotic like acetaminophen or paracetamol, we can give cough syrups if patient is having cough. We should advise patient to have complete rest. We should take plenty of fluids, and we can give some medicines like hydroxychloroquine and azithromycin. But before giving these two medicines, what we have to do, we have to go for a pre-assessment ECG, because these two drugs can prolong QT duration and can lead to arrhythmia. But in current scenario, hydroxychloroquine is replaced by ivermectin. Later on in coming slides, I will detail. And we can give immune strengthening based therapy, like we should tell him to take good diet, good sleep, plenty of fluids, kadhas, like some Ayurvedic preparations like tulsi, glow, ashwagandha. Even you can prescribe those things also, because they can increase their immunity. And we can advise all like vitamins, vitamin C, vitamin D, zinc, for increasing the immunity. These are not antivirals. This will lead to increasing immunity only. Ivermectin is still not approved, but trial is going on. And ivermectin in the dose of 12 milligram twice a day alone or in combination with other therapy for 5 to 7 days for mild COVID is recommended nowadays. Azithromycin can be given in combination for 3 days. After 3 days of azithromycin, what you should prescribe? You should give doxycycline. Then continue with doxycycline for 7 days. It is cost effective, especially when the other drugs are very costly and not easily available. ICMR is now reviewing the benefits of ivermectin and doxycycline as a potential therapy for COVID patients. What today we are doing, we are giving all patients of COVID-19 disease, we are prescribing ivermectin, we are prescribing doxycycline along with vitamin D, vitamin C, zinc, and diet therapy. These are something about vitamin C, vitamin D, and zinc. Vitamin C has to be given 65 to 90 milligrams per day. Upper limit is 2000 milligrams per day. What we are giving in current scenario, 500 mg 3 times a day. Vitamin D 400 IU for below 12 months of age, 600 IU for ages 1 to 70 years, and 800 IU for people over 70 years. This is daily dose. You can also prescribe 60,000 IU weekly. Regarding zinc, 8 milligram per day for women and 11 milligram per day for men. The maximum dose of zinc is 40 mg. What we are giving 20 mg twice a day. No research has yet confirmed that vitamin D or C can play a role in the treatment of COVID-19. Like vitamin C, vitamin D also plays a key role in immune function. A new clinical trial to test high-dose vitamin C in patients with COVID-19 is going on, and it will be completed by September last 2020. Hopefully, it could be helpful. Vitamin D supplementation to prevent acute respiratory tract infections. This is very old trial, not a new one. It has been tried in all respiratory infections like even tuberculosis, influenza, bacterial pneumonia, viral pneumonias. So it has been tried in COVID-19 patients also. It is not antiviral drug, but definitely its supplementation is safe and it protects against acute respiratory tract infections. So it has to be given to all patients of COVID-19 patients, COVID-19 disease also. Regarding steroids, while corticosteroids, they are not generally recommended for treatment of COVID-19 or any viral pneumonia. The UK recovery trial has changed that. Nowadays, corticosteroids are recommended. IDSA guidelines include low-dose dexamethasone, 6 mg orally or intravenously daily for 10 days in patients requiring respiratory support, means who are hospitalized, who are in ICU. At present, the World Health Organization has cautioned clinicians to reserve use for severely ill patients. Stay current on dexamethasone. In basically three conditions, we should give steroids. In severe patients who are admitted in ICU and who are on ventilator support, we should give steroid in those group of patients. Patients who are having moderate disease and who are having increased inflammatory biomarkers like ferritin, like D-dimer, like CRP, like IL-6. So if the inflammatory biomarkers are on higher side, it means the patient is having cytokine storm. So these group of patients also will need steroids. So steroids should be given to these group of patients also. And in those group of patients who are having ground glass opacities or consolidations in CT thorax, in those group of patients also, you could consider giving steroid early, because that will prevent the progression of disease, that will prevent the post viral damage also, that will prevent the impending respiratory failure. Now, something about hydroxychloroquine. Initially, it was very much highlighted, but nowadays it has been withdrawn. Initial data suggested that HCQ and chloroquine, sometimes in combination with azithromycin, had some degree of efficacy in treating COVID-19. Earlier, it was recommended for home isolation too. Nowadays, it has been replaced by ivermectin. Regarding anti-allergic medications, they has to be used if the patient is already having allergic rhinitis or bronchial asthma. Then we should give this also. Or if patient is having recurrent cough, we can try montelukast and fexofenamide. Regarding bronchodilator, obviously patients who are having asthma and COPD and who has contracted COVID-19 infection, they should be given bronchodilator. Otherwise, it is not having much role in treatment of COVID-19 pneumonia. COVID-19 clinical reports, they do not indicate wheeze as a common symptom, and not all patients require bronchodilators. So it should be reserved for some group of patients, not for all patients. So what lab tests you should advise for COVID-19 patients, COVID-19 infected patients? D-dimer, prothrombin time, PTNR, white blood cell count, CRP, C-reactive protein, lactate, LFT, KFT, cardiac troponin, procalcitonin, complete blood count. Obviously, there is increased white blood cell count, it shows bacterial infection. So we should modify the antibiotic. We should increase the antibiotic cover. If all these inflammatory biomarkers they are increased, then it shows some kind of injury, either liver injury or kidney injury. And if D-dimer is increased, it means there is activation of blood coagulation, and there is possibility of DIC. DIC is the main cause behind. It is a fatal thing behind the death of COVID-19 patient. So we have to monitor all these inflammatory biomarkers repeatedly. We have to go for repeat CT in COVID patients, because CT will show the either progression of the disease or regression of the disease. So we can see whether the ground glass is progressing or regressing. We should do a repeat CT thorax. Regarding VT prophylaxis, it is recommended only for in-house setting. For home isolated patients, a doctor recommendation is a must. We have to go for PT-INR and D-dimer. If it is very high, then we should give anticoagulants to home isolated patients also. Regarding management of mild cases, patient is followed up daily for temperature, vitals, and caregivers of children with mild COVID-19 should monitor for signs and symptoms of clinical deterioration requiring urgent re-evaluation. Mild COVID-19 cases may be given symptomatic treatment like paracetamol for fever and pain, adequate nutrition, appropriate rehydration. SCQs may be considered for high-risk cases like ages more than 60, hypertension, diabetes, CLD, CKD, and cerebrovascular disease, obesity. Oxygen support, ideally it is not recommended for home isolated patients. Oxygen support has to be given in hospital settings. But nowadays, some patients who are having home isolation and having desaturation, they are using oxygen at their homes without medical prescription, without advice of the doctor. This is not good because that patient may deteriorate and may develop sudden respiratory failure. So I don't recommend oxygen support in home isolation. So oxygen support target SpO2 is 90 to 96% and 88 to 92% in patients with COPD, because COPD it may be persistent hypoxia. So you should not should not very careful for maintenance of SpO2, because patients with of COPD, they may have hypercarbia, they may have high PaCO2. So giving high level of oxygen will have detrimental effect on COPD patients. In those group of patients, you should use non-invasive ventilation. And if you are not able to maintain SpO2 by simple oxygen, you can use high flow nasal cannula oxygen. This is very good, and nowadays majority of COVID-19 patients, they are being managed on HFNC before putting them on a mechanical ventilation. But if you are using HFNC, then you should use 95 mask should be applied to the patient. Awake proning may be used as a rescue therapy. All patients should have daily 12 lead ECG. Management of moderate cases, again not for home isolation setting. Follow CRP, D-dimer and ferritin every 48 to 72 hours. CBC with DLC, absolute lymphocyte count and KFT, TLFT daily. Tablet hydroxychloroquine 400 mg BD on first day, followed by 200 milligram twice a day for 4 days. But it should be given only after ECG assessment. That patient should not have any arrhythmia or QT prolongation already. Consider IV methylprednisolone 0.5 to 1 milligram per kg or dexamethasone 0.1 to 0.2 milligram per kg for 3 days, preferably within 48 hours of admission. Sorry. Or if oxygen requirement is increasing, and if inflammatory markers are increased, obviously we should use steroid. Regarding anticoagulation, prophylactic doses of unfractionated heparin or low molecular weight heparin, for example, enoxaparin 40 mg per day subcutaneously has to be given, and we have to control the comorbid conditions like diabetes or hypertension or any kidney or liver issue. We have to monitor for increased work of breathing, use of accessory muscles, hemodynamic instability, increase in oxygen requirement. If any of the above occurs, then we have to shift the patient to dedicated COVID hospital. I mean, if you have to monitor for increased work of breathing, if patient are using accessory muscles, means there is increased work of breathing, so we should shift that patient to dedicated COVID hospital. There is hemodynamic instability and there is an increase in oxygen requirement. In all these conditions, we have to shift the patient to dedicated COVID hospital. Early supportive therapy and monitoring, give supplemental oxygen therapy immediately to patients with severe COVID and respiratory distress, hypoxemia or shock. Initiate oxygen therapy at 5 liters per minute and titrate flow rates to reach target SpO2 greater than 90% in non-pregnant adults and SpO2 greater than 92 to 96% in pregnant patients, because pregnant patients, they may require more oxygen. But before giving oxygen therapy, what you should do, you should go for ABG in all patients. This is for in-house patients. So we should do ABG first, and then we should put on patient on oxygen therapy. Management of hypoxemic respiratory failure and ARDS. Recognize severe hypoxemic respiratory failure when a patient with respiratory distress is failing standard oxygen therapy. Means if patient is deteriorating despite oxygen therapy, you should think of mechanical ventilation and try to manage septic shock. Sorry. So what is the conclusion and take home message? All patients they needs to follow precautions as advised. Patients can safely continue their ongoing treatment while in home isolation. Treatment should be based on patient's condition and doctor's advice. Patients should follow the precautions like hand washing, social distancing, and use of mask. They should isolate and maintain distance for better safety. How to protect yourself and others from coronavirus? What do's? Wash your hands more often or use hand sanitizer. Cover your nose and mouth while sneezing and coughing. Throw used tissues into closed bins. See a doctor if you feel unwell. If you feel unwell, and avoid large gatherings. And what don'ts? To have a close contact with anyone who is having cough fever. You don't have to touch your eyes, nose, and mouth, and you don't have to spit in public. So stay home, stay safe, and stay positive. And obviously, mask India. Thank you for everyone for patient for hearing. Hopefully, this presentation will be helpful for management of home isolated COVID patients. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, sir, for this wonderful session. You have explained very well.
Mr. Atul Joshi has asked in chat box regarding FabiFlu. What about FabiFlu? Atul Joshi.
FabiFlu approved nowadays for giving treatment to mild cases, mild to moderate cases, but it has to be given early. Suppose a patient is having fever from last 10 days, then after 10 days, giving FabiFlu is of no benefit. So, if you are you want to prescribe to FabiFlu in mild to moderate cases, you should give it early and in complete doses. Like you have to give initially for 9 tablets twice a day of 200 mg tablet, means 1800 mg twice a day on day first. Then you have to give 1600 mg daily for 7 to 10 days. And you have to monitor serum uric acid also because it causes hyperuricemia.
Sir, we have one more question. Mohit Gupta is asking, what is the role of ivermectin in COVID?
It is basically immunomodulator and vermicide. All of you are knowing it. We are using from the last many years for as a vermicidal and as a immunomodulator. So this is basically immunomodulator. That's why it has been recommended in COVID-19 patients, and it is a very safe drug, very cheap drug. That is the reason behind recommendation. It is not having any antiviral effect. It is only for immunomodulation.
In your clinical practice, in your day-to-day practice, how do you diagnose a patient who is suffering from COVID? What are the main symptoms which you look after in a patient?
If a patient is having fever, dry cough, sore throat of recent onset, means within 7 days, 10 to 15 days, and he is having any travel history or any positive contact history, I always advise to undergo COVID-19 testing, not only by antigen testing but also by either TrueNat or by RT-PCR. Because many cases, many cases could be missed if you are advising only antigen testing. Because testing by antigen, it needs large viral inoculum. So patients who are having mild disease, there may be lower viral load. So it may not come in antigen testing. So it is always advisable to go for RT-PCR, TrueNat or RT-PCR.
Sir, you being a ENT specialist,
I'm not ENT specialist. I am chest specialist.
Sorry, you're chest specialist. You might have seen that patient suffering from COVID, they have symptoms which are somewhat similar to normal flu.
Yeah. It is a kind of flu. Coronavirus,
yeah.
COVID, it ranges from common flu to viral pneumonia to ARDS. Yeah. So there are three conditions. Simple upper respiratory tract infection, URTI. The symptoms are same as common flu, as sore throat, as common bacterial sore throat. symptoms are same. They all will have fever, they all will have sore throat, they all will have cough, and in severe cases they may have breathlessness. So we have to go for test. Testing is a must. We have to go for we have to go for chest X-ray. We have to go for COVID-19 testing.
During your daily practice, in your clinical practice, how do you manage a patient for home isolation? What is your line of treatment for home isolation patient as
First
per
of
your
all,
clinical guide?
I give details to patients' attendants about how they will manage their family while in home isolation. They have to follow strict home isolation protocol. Patient should be strictly isolated. They should not move here and there. They should be in one room with attached latrine and bathroom, separate latrine and bathroom. First of all, second thing, he should have a pulse oximeter, and he has to monitor his SpO2. If it starts reducing from 95% to less than 90%, like 92%, it is fluctuating. Suppose sometimes it is 95, sometimes it is 92, sometimes it is 88. Then this patient may go in respiratory failure. So this patient should be hospitalized. This patient can't be managed in home isolation. First of all, second thing, if the patient is in home isolation, they are having increased problems like increased breathlessness. They have some unusual atypical symptoms like having seizures, like having transient ischemic strokes, sudden loss of consciousness, maybe few episodes. Then this group of patients should also be admitted in hospital. They are not fit for home isolation, and they have to take good diet. They have to take good sleep. They have to take plenty of fluids. They can go for gargle by betadine. They can go for steam inhalation. They have to take paracetamol if they are having fever. They have to take vitamin D, vitamin C, zinc, and azithromycin or doxycycline, and obviously ivermectin also for 5 to 7 days, as I already told in the slide presentation. So, and they can also take some kadhas like Ayurvedic preparations. I don't mind to prescribe these patients kadhas also, tulsi, giloy, and ashwagandha also. Why not? If they can increase their immunity. Why not?
Yes, sir. My next
And
question
most of
was that only.
above all, they should have positive attitude. They should not be panic. Suppose they are patient of home isolation, they are having sleeplessness. He should be first counseled. First, that don't be panic. You will be fine. Majority of patients of COVID-19 pneumonia or COVID-19 upper respiratory infection, they become cured after 10 to 14 days. So don't be panic. And again, still if they are having sleeplessness, they could be given anxiolytics.
Yes, sir. My next question was that only. You spoke about kadha because it is now every family is having it. So is it really useful or it is just a prophylaxis in order to save?
ICMR has approved it. So they have
Okay.
made some combination of, I don't know, the separate constituents they have made, and they have made public also in newspapers also, on net also, how to prepare kadha in adequate amount of separate individual constituents.
So what
That
is
is
your
not
view?
my part.
Yeah, what is your view on hydroxychloroquine? Because it
I'm
was
not
very.
giving at present. I'm not prescribing hydroxychloroquine because it has been replaced by ivermectin nowadays.
Mhm.
Ivermectin is a lot safer than hydroxychloroquine. Hydroxychloroquine is toxic drug. Though
Uh,
Indian scenario, it is not as toxic as in European or American scenario. In Indian scenario, it is not as toxic. I myself has taken SCQS prophylaxis in initial lockdown in March.
okay. Okay. Rightly said, sir. One thing which is we can see is after corona, if a patient is suffering from corona and once he is free, what can
Okay.
be the post corona complications?
Yes, he has to
Which
be watchful for coming 2 months. He has to be watchful. Patients may develop any cardiac problem. He may develop diabetes also, because this virus can create some damage to pancreas also. So he has to undergo all the tests repeatedly. He has to monitor himself for any breathlessness, any pedal edema, any transient loss of consciousness, any vertigo, any chest heaviness or chest discomfort, any increasing coughing, any even GI symptoms. He has to monitor himself completely for coming 2 months, because this is the period in which patients of some patients, very few patients, they have developed some problems, and maybe some fatal problems. Some patients have died even after being cured from coronavirus. You all will be knowing, I think.
Yeah.
So he
One
has to
question.
undergo all the tests
Okay.
repeatedly: ECG, blood test, X-ray, and all the blood tests means sugar, PTINR, everything, D-dimer.
One question we have in the chat box, Mohit is asking, does after corona the lung of the patient is completely damaged, or is there any chance of recovery?
No, no. In majority of patients, every damage clears by the time 15 days or 1 month. But in some patients, fibrosis persists. In some patients, some calcification of fibrosis persists. But that is not going to affect much his life until unless it is much fibrosis. And we can minimize that post-COVID fibrosis by giving steroids early. If we give a steroid early, the chances of having post-COVID fibrosis is very, very less. But if a person has developed fibrosis, definitely he could have breathlessness throughout his life, and he may need some treatment at some stage of their life for having breathlessness, means having dyspnea. This could be minimized.
Yeah, absolutely, sir. One thing, sir, we are reading and we are listening everywhere is herd immunity. So, what is the concept of herd immunity? Is it possible right now to have herd immunity, or it takes time?
In case of COVID, we can't say about herd immunity because antibodies are short-lived. In some patients, they have disappeared in 8 days. In some patients, it has persisted only for 2 to 3 months. So once you have got infection of coronavirus, you can say that you are protected only for coming 3 months, not more than that. The immunity is very short-lived. But some research is going on. Much detail is not known about this herd immunity and immunity which is conferring by this infection. In coming days, we will know more. Like memory T cells could play a role along with antibodies. So studies are going on about memory cells, how they can retain the memory to have acquired infection in the past and having immunity against this COVID disease. So research is going on. Things will be clear in coming few months.
Rightly said, sir. Thank you for taking all the questions, sir. What would be your advice for patients, your concluding remark for patients who are in home isolation?
First of all, they should not get panic. They should take good diet. They should take good sleep. They should take plenty of fluids, and they should keep their doctor's number at their hands. If any breathlessness, in case of any hypoxia, in case of any desaturation, means reduced SpO2, they should consult immediately to the doctor, and if there is need of hospitalization, they should be hospitalized in the nearest dedicated COVID hospital. But this is required in only very few number of cases. Majority of patients, they will be fine after 14 days of complete home isolation. So nothing to worry, nothing to panic. Follow your doctor's advice. Keep your immunity strong. Don't be panic. Take good diet. Take all the prescription medicines like vitamin C, vitamin D, zinc, ivermectin, azithromycin, or doxycycline, whatever your doctor has prescribed to you. And if you have anything, any problem, you should directly call or WhatsApp, or you can go to contact via online also. And don't be panic. You will be fine. Majority of patients will be fine, obviously. So don't be panic. You will be fine.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Ajay, sir, for your wonderful presentation today. You have explained in detail about all the aspect of isolation of COVID-19 patients. Thank you, sir. Thank you for sharing your valuable time and knowledge with us. And it was a pleasure having you here today. We will meet next time on such important topics again, if you permit.
Definitely.
Also, thanks to all the viewers who have joined us. Okay. Sir. Thanks a lot. So
Okay,
till
bye-bye,
next time we meet, on behalf of RPG Life Sciences, stay safe, take care, and goodbye. Thank you.
Goodbye. Bye-bye.